Hi, this is Angela Wolf, and in this episode I'm going to show you how to make a really cool tool. How about texting gloves? How many times are you trying to grab your phone and you have to take off your gloves? 'Tis the season for freezing cold weather, so these take like 10 minutes to make. They're a great gift item. Christmas is just around the corner. But not only that, if you have young kids that want to learn how to sew or friends that are young, this is a great starter project because you don't have to finish the edges. We're just using fleece, which is very inexpensive, and it takes maybe 10 minutes. So let's get started.
Here's my fleece fabric. One side stretches. That's the great side to use because then it can fit over your hand but still be tight on your wrist. So if you're going to use a fabric that doesn't stretch, keep that in mind, that it needs to go over your knuckles. So here's my measuring tape. I'm going to measure around the biggest part of my hand, which is, again, where your knuckles are. So measure around, and that's going to be the width that you're going to cut this piece of fabric. So you have your width measurement. Now you need your length measurement. Now this fabric is going to be folded in half because the edge closest to your knuckles is going to be a nice clean edge there. So whatever the length is from your knuckles to on your wrist of how high you want these texting gloves to go, they can be short, long, whatever. Just take that measurement and then multiply times 2, and that's going to be the length of your gloves. For this pair, I think I did like maybe 12 inches. The pair that you saw at the beginning, which are really high, those are a total of 19 inches long. So that would be 8.5 and 8.5. So that's your pattern. So take your fabric and fold it. Make sure you have the right side. So with right sides together, fold the fabric from side to side. And now we're going to mark where we're going to sew. This is really simple. I'm going to use chalk so you can actually see what I'm doing. I'm chalking my seam line. And here I'm pinning. I have it marked in half, and then I have where my thumbs are going to go. Where these X's are where your thumbs need to go. So you're going to sew before that, in the middle of that. That's like where your wrist is. That's where the end of your hand is. And then again to your wrist. You'll see more later, but that's pretty much your pattern. So let's go sew. I'm just going to stitch along here. Of course, I'm going to have to use my cool pen pal feature on this Brother Dreamweaver where I can use the pen pal. I set it up, I touch where I want to stop sewing. Here I'm just enabling this feature. It has a lot of options, but this is the one where I just touch the pen to the screen. This is where I want to stop sewing. Right there. And you'll hear a little beep go off. You go back to your screen, hit OK, and then just stitch. And it will literally stitch to that point and stop. Just like that. Very cool feature. Anyways, of course I have to brag about that while I'm sewing these cool gloves. So I backstitch a little bit, and that's it. I do not want to sew through where the X is. So there's my first stitch line. And now let's go stitch the middle section. So this would be above your thumb, and remember these gloves are being folded in half. I'm going to use my laser light, line it up with this chalk line, because I'm not stitching on the chalk line. That was just so you can see where I'm stitching. Okay, let's stitch the middle part. I'm going to do really good back stitches, or at least a handful of them at each end, because your thumb, through time as you're moving around, you don't want to rip out the stitches. So there's the first, the middle, and then we'll finish with the last little section. Skipping over the X part where our thumb goes, and stitch again. Trim your seam allowance just to like maybe 1/4 of an inch, just because the fleece is a little bit bulky. And then I'm going to use, this is a sleeve board. I'm sliding this on the sleeve board so I can press this seam allowance open. I'm going to use my clapper with that steam to keep that. It just seals that seam open. Makes it so much easier. And I'm going to fold this in half, being very careful to keep that seam lined up. You only have one seam here. Just make sure it's even so it's not all cockeyed. Once you line it up, you're going to hand stitch your thumb hole together. Very easy to do. And then the end closest to your wrist, you can either run it through the serger or just leave it because it won't fray. And that's it. This is how cute these gloves are going to be.
So that's how easy it is to make texting gloves. Fleece is so easy, you don't have to finish the edges if you don't want to. This is a great project for kids if they're just starting sewing. So let's see, how many days till Christmas? This will be a great gift giving item. Hope you enjoy.